everybody. How are you today? Was that a loud woo? Did I break your ears?
It was an exciting woo for me.
I know, we have a new intro video. Isn't that fun?
Scary masks. I think I look. I have music notes on my mask.
Mine is catching my background a little bit.
So,
shiny.
I'd like to think I'd like to see everyone's boobs today.
Oh, with those measly beads.
What? It's not the size of the beads. It's how you use them.
Oh, hi you guys. Happy Friday. Welcome to History Drink Repeat with myself, PvaColada, and...
Angelus 000. I don't know why I ever say 000. It's really just Angelus.
It really just is Angelus.
We have not been drinking.
No, we're just naturally this way. I know this is my one drink I've made so far, and I actually have only taken one sip, and I was like, that's pretty tasty. Just to let you guys know, I am drinking a gin fizz because I wanted to make sure I was appropriate to the at least New Orleans style, right? Things.
And I am drinking. It was really tough for me to choose this history drink repeat. I couldn't figure it out, and after a lot of toiling, I decided to go with whiskey and Coke Zero again. I mean,
you really can't go wrong.
It's tried and true. You know?
It is tried and true. If it's your go-to and you know it's good, why not? Like,
hey,
we're gonna be talking about traditions today. You know, keep it up. This is that's your thing.
I'm a simple guy that likes simple things.
Where I'm like, what can I put? The only thing that I ended up not doing with my gin fizz is I didn't put egg whites in it to give it that nice, really foam topping. That's alright. You guys forgive me, right?
I mean, you should basically then not drink it.
Oh, it's garbage now, right? It's game over. But please save it more towards the end. I would like to get through. I have so much to share with you guys today. If you can't tell from the title, we'll be talking about the history of Mardi Gras. And Mardi Gras is this Tuesday. So I thought it was a really appropriate topic to talk about. It's also one of my favorite holidays. I don't really get to celebrate it living in LA as much anymore. I grew up in St. Louis where it was heavily celebrated. So I was celebrating it since I was a kid. Which I know sounds crazy to some people, but Mardi Gras is more than what you think it maybe is when first things that come to your mind. So I will be talking about that.
It's just New Orleans. I'm pretty sure it was originated in New Orleans, and it's the only place in the world it's ever celebrated.
Thank you.
They have a huge carnival of fun things to do there, and that's how it works, right?
Oh, is that how it works? That's it, right? Every time, yeah. We're gonna talk about it. So I'm very excited though to talk about the history of Mardi Gras. I actually realized I didn't know very much about the origins and how it evolved and how it came to be with, the big parades and the beads element and just anything you can think of when you think that that culture imagination, when you think of Mardi Gras, right? How did it become, the colors of being green, gold, and purple? And it's just, how did it get to where it is today, which in very specific places is just elaborately celebrated, right? So we'll be talking about New Orleans. We'll talk also about Venice and Italy with Carnival, and I'll be talking about how the different places a little bit. But I'm going to focus on two main places, which is going to be Carnival in Venice, and then New Orleans, and I'll mention Mobile, Alabama.
I'm curious. There's just one thing, as someone that doesn't know anything about New Orleans and Mardi Gras, but I know is critical to Mardi Gras success. Are we going to talk about boobs?
I mean, they're there, right? Women have them. I don't know. What do you want to talk about them? In what regard? How do you...
I mean, beads and boobs. It's like it's a Mardi Gras thing.
It's the thing, right? Which is it's the crazy. Every time I mention that Mardi Gras, or I mention that I'm going to talk about Mardi Gras, people always like, so boobs, beads. It's like the main thing, especially coming to LA and living here and talking about Mardi Gras. That's what lays, yeah. And so, of course, Venetian here, he's in St. Louis, he celebrates Mardi Gras every year. I love seeing whenever he goes and posts pictures. It always makes me really happy and homesick in that regard. But yes, it's the main thing. And again, we'll talk a little bit, maybe, I think where it maybe have come from, and I know you have a little bit, John, on the idea of beads and how that came about. So we'll be going back and forth and sharing that, but that is definitely not my main topic because it is so much more than that, right?
This is I'm leaving.
You're done. Bye, John. But it is like the big thing. Everyone always talks about that. You know, beads and boobs. Maybe it's the BB thing. I don't know. Or because boobs are amazing. And beads are shiny. There's so many good things when it comes to it, right? But honestly, everybody flashes anything for beads. I've seen booties, you know, booties for boobs, balls for boobs. Let's talk about it, right? Oh, balls for beads. There it is. Both are true. It's all.
I think that's a fair exchange. Balls for boobs. That's a fair exchange.
When you're in the pit of like in the streets with the people during the festivities, you see anything goes. Like it is a wild, wild time, and we'll talk about why that is.
Well, let's get into it. I'm raring to go.
You guys ready?
I'm raring to learn some history and get drunk in the process.
I know. I'll see how long I can wear this mask for. I don't know about you guys. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers, cheers. Yes, of course. The mask might get on my nerves over time. I don't know how they wore them all the time.
Me too.
I don't get it. Again, welcome everybody to another episode of History, Drink, Repeat. Cheers, cheers, cheers. I'm so happy. All right. So, a question. Does everyone take a drink? I know, yeah. Oh, by the way, I did have more beads than this, but I was laughing with John before we started. I wanted to share this with you guys. But the thing is that they're green in my green screen. And now my beads become one with the green screen. So I couldn't wear my beads. And I had these sick ones that I got in New Orleans. They're like the big ball ones, which is pretty epic. But, oh well. I'll go with my medium ones and my...
It's okay. I know one way you can utilize those beads still. And moving on to another topic.
John, do you want beads? Okay. What do you got? What do you got?
Would you like to see one ball or two?
One ball or two? Girls made out with me for beads. Again, John has a really good thing. When we get to some of the traditions and how they have evolved over time, you'll learn why. You know, people do anything for beads. What's this bead mentality, right? Don't be stingy, John. So, you know, we've been talking about nudity, right, already. But did you know Mardi Gras is a Christian holiday? You know, sounds appropriate when it comes to when we talk about this kind of debauchery and like this craziness. And it's very widely celebrated in mainly Catholic communities. So more of the So like many Christian traditions, it dates back thousands of years to pretty much those pagan holidays. And I find every time we talk about a holiday or some sort of tradition, it comes from those different those spring festivals and winter traditions, the fertility rites of the olden days. Oh, which I think, of course, some people still celebrate, you know, the winter solstice and all those beautiful, still. It is no one going to ask if Janelle has ever flashed her beads. Oh, I know, right? Someone had to ask at one point. Just to get it out there, I've actually never flashed for beads. I just smile and ask for them, and I've gotten them, which sounds like
I think we can change that today, right, stream?
No, this is Twitch, and I don't want to get banned, so thank you. Also, I don't need to. I just smile. I knew that was the answer. No, I just never have one. So, just let you guys, I celebrated Mardi Gras. I used to go to parades when I was a teenager, so that would have been a no-go, I think, automatically. And as an adult, I've never... been to
clearly you don't know enough teens, so
well,
all right, take me back. I want to learn about Mardi Gras now. I want to learn about how it all started. It didn't start in New Orleans, is what you're telling me.
No, this is definitely a European style tradition. It comes from, so it is also known as Carnival, and I know many people have heard of Carnival. Just to let you guys know, Carnival and Mardi Gras are the same thing. They're exactly the same thing. So not to get them confused, they're just celebrated in different places, and they are one, and I'll explain what Carnival means and what Mardi Gras means and why we call one and the other, but yeah. So, also known as Carnival, it is celebrated in many countries around the world, mainly those with large Roman Catholic populations. And it's celebrated the day before, or the days leading up to Lent. And Lent usually begins on Ash Wednesday and it ends on Easter Sunday. So places like Brazil, Venice, Italy, New Orleans play kind of this host to some of the holiday's most like public festivals, like these iconic festivals that we think about, drawing thousands of tourists and people every year. Of course, not during this time. So it's really cool. So we'll talk at the end what New Orleans is doing this year. I don't know what's going on in St. Louis, how they're going to celebrate, but New Orleans came up with it pretty interesting because all their parades and stuff got canceled due to the pandemic. So in Brazil and many other countries, this period between, we are talking about Mardi Gras, which is a specific day, but many other people will celebrate for at least a week or even a month before Mardi Gras, right before the day of Ash Wednesday, so before Lent begins. And usually they'll start right after Epiphany, which is the 12th day of Christmas, which is January 6th, all the way until Fat Tuesday. So honestly, I feel like I was gypped growing up because I grew up in St. Louis, and it was really only a 2-day event. It was a Saturday and a Tuesday. And then all these other places are a week long, a month long. It's, gypped.
A month long? That just sounds like way too much partying. I mean...
Well, they would celebrate, I think, on the weekends, but it's still something that, would be talked about and people building up to and things like that. So, pretty cool. I'm actually kind of sad. So, this year, to give a little shout out, I don't know if she's here, but I'll give a shout out. One of my best friends in St. Louis, my friend Joanna, her birthday's February 16th. And a couple of years ago, we had decided that we were going to go to Mardi Gras, New Orleans, and because we had never done it before. I've done Easter in New Orleans, which is a whole other thing. But I haven't done actually Mardi Gras, New Orleans, and we were going to do it this year. But unfortunately, everything went, happened. And it's like, oh, her birthday was exactly on Mardi Gras. And it's like, no! So happy birthday to my beautiful friend Joanna. Of course, happy birthday, girl.
Happy birthday, Joanna.
So let's go to the beginning. So Mardi Gras is a tradition that can be dated back, like I stated, thousands of years to pagan celebrations of spring and fertility, including the Roman festivals of, I always say this, I feel like I say this wrong when we talk about it, but Lupercalia, which is observed in the city of Rome between the 13th and the 15th of February. So you had these already these traditions in place, and when Christianity arrives in Rome, the religious leaders, like we've talked about before, decide to incorporate these popular local traditions into the new faith. It's an easier task than abolishing them altogether, just incorporate them. And that's how we have things like Christmas and Easter and all that jazz, right? We've talked about a few of these so far, which is like, I love it. I just want to learn so much more about it, to know the roots. However, though, when it comes to Mardi Gras, these traditional Mardi Gras type festivities that we're gonna talk about popped up solely as a result of the Catholic Church's disencouragement of sex and eating meat during Lent. So really, what we're going to talk about today is rooted in more of our, modern history, as we call it, modern civilization history.
Oh, and those who don't have a Catholic background, Lent is you basically give up something.
I was going to talk about it, but you can go for it.
No. Oh, my bad. Okay, I'll give you the quick Catholic digest of what Lent is. You basically give up something for 40 days. There was a movie about some guy giving up masturbating for 40 days.
There's Josh Hartnett's 40 Days, 40 Nights. So
yeah, exactly.
In 2002.
And you spend whatever time you would have spent on that activity to commune with God and pray. And so that was the whole thing. Be good for 40 days. No meat on Fridays. And
100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Sex and steaks are a great reason to party. And I get why people went all out during this. They were like, I'm gonna talk about just 7 days. No, let's do it a month long. And then I'm gonna talk about this too. Let's do it for 6 months. It's crazy. I get it. And okay, here, I don't want to jump ahead. I have so much good stuff to share with you guys. So first of all, let's talk about what does Mardi Gras mean, right? You guys know what that means. It's French. Mardi is Tuesday, and Gras means fat. So it's called Fat Tuesday. So of course, Ash Wednesday, so the Tuesday before, it had become known as Fat Tuesday. Even though Mardi Gras is a specific day, it actually marks the end of a week of 7 fat days. Oh. I just think it's such a funny term, a way of saying that. But it also comes from this bull and just the language, as well as a month-long celebration, as you would see with Carnival that celebrates, or in Brazil, and things like that, from Epiphany.
Well, I consider any fat day a day I don't get out of my sweats, so I don't know. During COVID, I've had very many fat days.
So before it was known as Mardi Gras, these 7 days were known as the jours. I hope I say this correctly, because when it comes to different languages, I do struggle. But it's the jours charnels, which is carnal days, basically. So it's I know jours is French for days, and I'm thinking I might be saying that incorrectly, but so it's carnal days, and carnal means like the consumption of flesh, so the consumption of animals, besides fish, because fish is what you eat during Lent, in the olden times. So they called it jours charnel, which I thought was cool. So the word carnival derives from the Latin word carne levare, which is meaning to take out the meat. I don't know if you guys knew that. Carnival. You always think carnival now, and carnivals and meat, I don't know, but it's carne levare, meaning to take out the meat. So during Lent, meat was banished, as well as things like sugar, anything with sugar, and ingredients containing fat, eggs, and dairy products. So you had to be vegan, I guess, basically, and no sugar as well. So it's pretty sounds boring, because remember, it was like you eat fish and you do different intermediate fasting during Lent, a strict Lent. I think now you just don't eat meat on Fridays, right? I'm trying to bring back through my Catholic school days.
Yeah. Well, now it's no meat on Fridays.
It's just no meat on Fridays. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You can have fish on Fridays, just no like red meat, no chicken.
So naturally, I think the days leading up to this big sacrifice, right, when you're about to give up all this delicious food, is that people would binge on all this rich, fatty food that they could. But also, they didn't want the food to go bad if they already had it in their house, so you had to eat it. You just had to eat it. So
makes sense. Yeah.
You would just go bananas for days, eat as much as you can. Also, make sure your house is rid of it so it doesn't go bad and you're not wasting food, especially back in the day. You shouldn't do that now, but you really shouldn't have done it when it was more scarce. And so this several weeks of eating fish and different types of fasting. So it's pretty crazy. Wow. Yeah. So it's kind of like when you eat all the junk food in your house before you go on a diet. That's how I just equate it. Right before you go on keto, you're like, get rid of all the bad stuff. I don't know.
All the carbs. Anything that has carbs.
That's what I was going to say.
90% of all our stuff is gone.
I love this, by the way. Any celebrating that focuses around food is my jam. I love food. It doesn't love me back as much as I love it, but oh well. But now, I think now is like, especially within America, Americans, I feel like we think of Mardi Gras is like this debauchery of drinking and nudity, and not saying that it is, and that's so much fun. Like, I don't mean that in any negative way. I think that's awesome, and you should have a wild, fun time, let loose. But remember, it was a Christian holiday, right? It was rooted in the idea of feasts and parades and masquerade balls and processions and pageants, and there's so much that goes into Mardi Gras. It's not just what we automatically think, boobs for beads, which awesome, but it's so much more than that. To the Gregorian calendar, which considers the movements of the sun, Mardi Gras is a mobile holiday, which not all of them are, and it's in relation to the date of Easter. So that's to say, depending on the year, it falls between February 3rd and maybe March 9th, generally. So that's why you see it earlier and sometimes you see it later. Always a Tuesday, though, because of course it's a Fat Tuesday. That goes without saying. And therefore, always the Eve of Ash Wednesday before the Lent. So suppose... Oh, apparently, did you know this? I didn't know this. I just learned this. So we always say 40 days and 40 nights. It's actually 47 or 46 days between Ash Wednesday and Easter, or the Saturday before Easter. So they don't observe it, I think, on Sundays, on holy days. So it's not observed on Sundays. So if you take out all the Sundays, it becomes 40 days. So it's not a continuous 40 days.
Oh, so that means Sunday you can eat meat.
I think, or something. Like. I'm trying to remember correctly. If someone wants to correct me on that. But I thought that was really interesting. I actually got to my calendar and I counted. I was like, say what? I guess it's not something that I ever just questioned. I was like, 40 days, 40 nights. I didn't even think about it. But it's not. It's more like 46 to 47 days. Which I thought was like, or, yeah, I don't know. It's just not observed on Sundays. And I think there's 6 in all, I think. Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's start with, I do have a bunch of pictures for you guys, of course, because it's so, like, your imagination and how it looks, and it's so beautiful. I did want to show first, I liked this picture of Rome. I thought this one was really cool. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you guys. You could just, this is actually, I think, 1889 Rome. It was a painting of, so it's later than what I was talking about, but I just love, you can see how Rome is very much, celebrating it. Like we don't always think of Rome. I always think of Venice, but they were very much participating in the festivities of Mardi Gras, which is pretty rad, I thought. Isn't that cool? So that one was pretty fun. So well, the first thing though I do want to talk about is Venice. So Carnival, which I just Carnival. It's just a cool name. So and this is where we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about all the masks. I'm going to talk about some really fun traditions. And this is something I just learned recently. So from feasts, of course, to the indulgence of food and drink, to mask disguises, and the rowdiest of parties. The Venetians do it right. They go all out. They celebrate for several weeks in February and March. So you can go, oh, thank you, Huntress. I appreciate it. Oh, unless you're talking about John's, because his looks awesome. His is a fancy, fancy mask. Look at that little. I love it. Oh my gosh, Liz, what's up, girlfriend? You made an account. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I guess if you guys didn't know that, Carnival in Venice is for several weeks. It's throughout February. It's parts of March, depending. And it always ends whenever Mardi Gras happens. And they call it Mardi Gras, which is the same thing. Tuesday, Fat Tuesday. The festival supposedly began in 1162 in celebration of Venice's victory over, it's called Aquileia, I believe. So they won a battle and they're like, let's celebrate. And they got all wild, which just sounds awesome. However, things like the mask wearing and like just the mask wearing element can go back as far as the 9th century. So pretty far back in medieval Europe. What makes it unbelievably popular, because remember in Europe you have this really rigid caste system pretty much, right? You have your aristocrat, So in your lower, can I speak anymore? I can't.
I don't get it.
I'm just so excited.
They had just a wine caste system. Is that like the type of wine you would drink?
The rigid caste system? The social. I don't know what you mean by that. That went like this. Can we talk about how much that went?
Just continue on. Ignore my wine joke.
What's your wine joke? I want to be the cool kids. So because of this rigid social hierarchy, during this carnival period, it was actually quite softened because people were able to wear masks and they were able to go out and mingle. They were able to become anonymous. Wine cast. Oh, I get it. I'm an idiot. I had to read it. Thank you for writing it, Daz. Like, I had to literally read it to understand what was just said. Thank you. I'm glad we can go back to this and I can catch up. So the class lines get a little bit blurred during Venice because everybody's out partying together, and also you're wearing costumes and you're wearing masks. So you have kind of this anonymity, right? Not everybody gets to have to see who you are. You can kind of pretend a bit. Like what we say about Halloween, right? It's the day that you could become someone else. I don't know. You can kind of do that when it came to wearing masks and in such regards. For some weeks of the year, anyone could be whoever they wanted to be, whether it was a peasant, right, mixing with aristocrats, at their mass balls, a man dressed as a woman, that was, a big one, you're in costume, or like the stories of Casanova, which is always fun, where you have the son of these lowly actors who pretends to be a state official and goes out and seduces all these married women, noble women.
Awesome.
Which if you read that book, it's pretty raunchy. Or just see the movie, right, with Heath Ledger, right? Was Heath Ledger in Casanova back in the day? Let's just talk about early 2000 movies. Let's do it. So I want to talk about masks because there's so many different types of masks, and I thought this was really cool to give you guys a little bit of an intro to it. So I hope I say these correctly. So masks were made from simple materials such as clay or paper mache, and worn according to a few classic archetypes. So we have one that's called the Bauta, which is this mask. Pretty fancy, right? So you'll see a bunch of gentlemen, sometimes women, but mainly I find gentlemen wearing this.
It's kind of scary, actually. I wouldn't say it's fancy. I'd say it's scary. Yeah.
I think unless they're like the masks that are only the eyes, most masks cover almost the entire face besides yours. It generally exposes your lips. You really couldn't tell who was who because it really was a covering, where this just covers your eyes, and it's like, it's not like you put your mask on and I was like, who are you? Like, the Batman Robin mask, because you're like,
I'm not committing any crimes in this thing. Yeah.
Right?
Unfortunately.
Honestly, Liz, I learned a bunch of this. This is all new to me. I wish I could tell you I've known this forever, but this is a new stuff, so I'm very excited. Hi, Cranky. Hi, babe. How are you? So this is the Bauta, B-A-U-T-A. So I hope I'm saying that correctly. So then the next math, this one's a very interesting one. I don't see this one anymore, but maybe it's more popular in Venice today. I don't know. But it's called the Mysterious, right? In the silent Morietta, Moretta. It's like this circle.
It's another weird mask.
It's a weird mask. But it's like this mysterious. It's like you just have a circle on your face with these holes cut out. But I looked at a lot of paintings from this time, from like the 17th century, the 18th century, and a lot of people seem to wear this one. I don't know, it's because it's the easiest to make, because it's so simple. Right? Hers kind of looks maybe velvety. I'm not sure. It's pretty wild. But I thought that one was pretty cool. So that one's called the Morietta, I believe, how you say that. So then we're going to go to our next mask. This one I definitely don't know how to say. I tried to find pronunciations online before going live, you guys. And this one I couldn't, which drove me crazy. So this one is the cat mask. It's G-N-A-G-A. Is it Naga? Because G-N is more of an N sound, right?
G-A-N-G-A?
G-N-A-G-A.
Naga,
right?
Naga, yeah, this G is kind of almost.
You think it'd be like Gato the cat, but I guess not. But this one, this is a kind of interesting one. It's not just a cat mask; it goes with a whole costume, I believe. It's kind of like this. It's a cross-dressing character. So when we talk about men dressing up as women, they wore the cat mask a lot, and also they had like some of them would carry a basket of kittens around under their arm, and it's this idea that you're in heat. So the cat mask is this wild, kind of a mask. So if you get a cat mask for Mardi Gras, or a masquerade, just know.
Basically, if that's the case, I would have been wearing that mask my entire high school career.
You're in heat. I don't know if you want to say that. Oh, I'm getting crazy and I'm showing the bottom. All right, that's the cat mask, and then here's another really famous mask that people talk about. I wonder if that would work today. I wonder that too, actually. So, of course, you have the classic plague doctor style mask. It's the Medico della Peste, and it's the plague doctor. So you'll see that one gets really fancy.
Do you know why? You didn't know why the plague doctor mask was a thing?
Well, besides the plague.
Yeah, but do you know why they wore it during the plague?
Tell me, John. Tell us, John.
So, because there's a bunch of dead bodies, and it started with a bunch of filth. So the plague masks helped hold all the good smelling things. So you get some good smells instead of smelling all the
so all that potpourri in the beak.
Yeah.
All that potpourri, like throw some flowers in there.
Yeah, exactly. Get crazy with it.
Get crazy with it.
Although it's still a freaky looking mask.
It is, and I think it's because we think of like death. Also, maybe. Do you think if it was if this mask was associated with things like plague and death, would we feel the same way about it?
I don't know.
Because we've given it an archetype of horror and things.
Yeah, it just looks weird. It's a long nose.
It is a long nose. I will give you that. So that's the plague mask. So of course there's different types of masks, but these are the 4 kind of archetypes. These are the big 4 main masks that were very popular during the 17th century and prior and later. Now I find it's these more simplistic masks, but again, they don't really hide the face like the other ones did. Yeah, good times. There's also the costumes, which I don't want to go into because there's so much you could talk about, right? And I didn't want to make this a million hours long because I tend to do that. So I actually cut back my notes from 7 to 4.5 pages. You should be proud of me. So really quickly, there was a few also archetype characters people would play as, and that comes from the Commedia dell'arte, right? So like when theater was such a vital program to Carnival, and so the Carnival life, so people, that's why you get the jesters and you get things like the clown costumes as well. There's the peasant costume. There's actually all these different types. of different things people would dress up as if they're going to be participating in a play, because it was one of the big events that would go down. Besides the jugglers and all that fun stuff. So, all crucial components to that cultural imagination of what we think about when we think of Carnival. I thought this was really interesting. So, Carnival feels like it's a time where people could do whatever they want. They can get crazy. It didn't matter. But honestly, the Venetian government felt that they needed to put some sort of, stricter laws in place to help kind of keep things calm, because it is a Catholic city. It's a city-state. Remember, it was an independent city-state at the time. And what they tried to do, you have all these people who are in these anonymous costumes. You can't tell who's who. But they're like, okay, we can't really put too much in place, but let's put a few things in place. And one of them was they decided no gambling. You're not supposed to gamble during Carnival. It did happen, but you weren't supposed to. And another big thing that you weren't supposed to do is you weren't supposed to visit convents or monasteries while wearing a costume or mask. And I'm kind of curious why. Why do you guys think you wouldn't be able to? It's kind of a holy fest. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? Because it's leading up to one of the holiest
I don't know,
days.
Maybe
but
it's disrespectful. I don't know.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just...
So it's what went down? Where they're like, no, we got to see that face before you come in here. But yeah, disrespect you, the idea of taking off a hat, right, when you're inside or something of that nature. So we'll see. So one of the traditions that we talked about briefly in the very beginning, because I think it's gonna come up all the time because it always comes up in conversation. This idea of where this whole boobs for beads comes from, and this I don't think exactly is it, but I do think traditionally this might have moved from what happens when I'm about the story I'm about to tell you to the States eventually, and French and Italian traditions when it comes to Mardi Gras. So I think one of the things is that in 1511, you have the female sex workers of Venice who petition to the Venetian government because male prostitutes dressed as the cat get-ups, I believe, were becoming too popular because they were in women's attire and the cat. People were really into it, and it was actually taking a lot of business away from the women. And so they go to the government. They're like, we need to do something. We need to keep our client base. We want to keep working. So that I think is amazing in itself. Where it's just the men were becoming so popular during Carnival. So what the government responded even more amazingly. They're like, okay. But they permitted the ladies to lean out their windows and bare their chests to the public to show that they're women in order to get clients.
I think that's completely fair. In fact, I feel that should be legal all over the
I love that the government was like,
Seriously.
all right, you can show your breasts to the public. But it's that idea, you think about with people just getting wild and taking off their clothes. I think this tradition maybe came from this time. I think already crazy stuff was happening in the streets. But the idea that you have now in the windows and on balconies, only if the government allowed that now. I know you had this Catholic government who's like, yeah, show your boobs. That's fine. Show them.
They're just boobs. Everyone has them.
I know.
They're just more defined on women.
They're just more defined and pretty. So I thought that was a pretty fun story. I wanted to share that one specifically with you guys. So it reaches its height really in the 18th century, the Carnival tradition, and it got so big in Venice that they decided to start it on the first Sunday in October. So it became a 6-month-long tradition, pretty much a half a year. It's almost
before
5
Christmas?
months.
That's crazy.
Well, okay, yes, but no celebrating Mardi Gras on other religious holidays. So if it was Christmas or anything like that, you weren't allowed to celebrate it. The church had to put some things in place, but it just got crazy. I think people really wanted, so it was banned on holy days. Unfortunately, this crazy holiday, this wild, fun time for everybody where they can really let loose and be who they want or pretend who they're not, whatever, blur the lines of society, pretty much all came crashing down, specifically when I made a fart noise with my tongue. Did you guys hear that? That was so funny. I just felt it. So it came to an end when the Republic fell when Napoleon invaded in 1797. So it was an era in which many old ways of life were coming to an end. It's also, I think, it's when Italy, things were starting to change. The modernity of the time, and so the carnival was actually banned, and all the celebrations and rituals associated with it were shut down when Napoleon took over. And so, and Venice was independent no more. The carnival festivities that you can go visit today wouldn't come back until 1979, which is a pretty long time. So after two centuries of war and just kind of this tumultuous time within northern Italy, the government began to redevelop the modern carnival, and by bringing back the traditional events. So if you go, you can see the jugglers, and you can see all these really fun. I mean, Venice is full of mask shops and bead shops and anything. Even if it's not carnival time, they still have the merchandise for tourists and stuff like that, which is pretty fun. I highly recommend it if you guys can go. It's several weeks long, so you don't have to go at its peak if you don't want to. I went pretty early on, and so there was just some really beautiful parades in the water. They do canal floats, which is pretty cool instead of the big car floats that we know of, and they're beautiful. I remember I slept in one day accidentally, and there was just confetti everywhere because they do the parades in the morning. There was just, I remember getting up going, oh my gosh, there's confetti all over the road. It's so fun. It's a really good time, so I recommend checking it out when you can. So the article that I read a lot of different articles, but I really like this one author who was talking about Carnival today in Venice, and it's a post-modern version of the pre-modern festival. So definitely check it out. So now that you know what Carnival is, right? We're gonna now move to Mardi Gras in the Americas.
Woo!
Woo! Again, I told you I have so much.
Nope, that's right. I want to know if you're a woman, not a man. See, I changed it.
I like it.
Yeah.
So the first American Mardi Gras, there's a little bit of debate when it comes to this. And I'm going to do my best to sum it up for you guys. And how many would you put money on that Mardi Gras began in New Orleans?
I would put money down, but apparently I'm not allowed to gamble.
Oh yeah, no gambling.
That's not allowed. That's
Never
not allowed.
I should have known that. But like, we think that, right? You think, oh, it's so big in New Orleans, it must have started in New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as in an American tradition, because it was in Canada and stuff. But so this is actually really up for debate. Historically, it stated that Mardi Gras first began in a port city, which is now known as Mobile, Alabama. Can you believe it? Mobile, Alabama.
Alabama's not known for anything that's fun, unless you like having sex with your sister.
Oh my God!
Sorry,
don't
just kidding.
Say that. That's
sorry,
horrible.
if there's anyone from Alabama. I didn't mean it. This is just in jest.
Just in jest. I actually was trying to Google more about Mobile, Alabama. It was called the Old Mobile Site, which I thought was a fun name for it. It was founded in 1702 by these two French explorers, and I'm gonna butcher his name because it's so beautifully long.
Let's hear it.
Pierre, easy, right? Pierre Le Moyne d'Iberville. Oh my God, it's so nailed. I so failed. I should have put the name at the bottom so you guys can say it for me. But Pierre. And then by also his brother, Sarah de Bienville. So actually, there's a really cool thing. So here's his brother. So these are the two dudes that they're the ones that found this port city in Mobile, Alabama. They're also going to be the ones that kind of land near New Orleans as well and help find New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Sorry guys, I'm getting crazy. So this brother here, I think his name is Bienville or Bienville. Everyone take a drink. Oh, yes, by the way. I have a really fun story about this guy really fast. It totally has nothing to do with this, but I thought this was a really rad thing that popped up when I was Googling pictures of him. This guy here, apparently is covered in tattoos. You're like, say what?
Wow.
Yeah, like snakes and stuff. And I found someone rendition of it. You want to see it? You guys?
Yeah. I do want to see it.
Look at that. I think that's pretty funny. who drew this? I couldn't tell, but it's like how like it's supposed to be. He was covered in, but he was known to be covered in tats. I think it's kind of like how you think about Mr. Rogers, right? We always say that he has tattoos because he was a sailor.
Is that like a giant snake?
I think it's like he's supposed to have a snake.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's sick.
The religious symbols. I don't know. He was known to have this whole like tattoos situation. I thought that was pretty cute. Pretty fun little story there. So these two brothers, they established Fort Louis de la Louisiana. So they established this fort, which will become eventually known as Mobile, Alabama. And in 1703, the tiny settlement of Fort Louis la Mobile celebrated America's very first Mardi Gras. So they're known to, in 1703, in this small port area, to have celebrated the very first Mardi Gras in the Americas. Mobile, Alabama is also another major Mardi Gras site, and it's not talked about. People always talk about New Orleans, but so I don't know if you guys know this, New Orleans, it's not just one big parade, it's multiple parades over days by different organizations that fund it, by these secret societies that I'll be talking to you guys about. Mobile, Alabama has 41 parades. Like, it is no small matter there. Like,
if they're secret societies, why would they be sponsoring parades?
They're not secret societies anymore. I think they're called Mystic societies now, but they were once secret societies because the members were anonymous. You knew the society existed, but you didn't know who was in it. Like the Illuminati, right? So
yeah,
that's the first thing I think of. And they're pretty elite. I have some fun stories about that. I think it's really fascinating.
It's funny in New Orleans. It's not secret societies. It's put on by crews, spelled Krewes.
Those societies are crews.
Yeah, now they're social organizations.
Yes,
so
now
much
they're
less
social.
secret.
They're not secret. Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you why. And I will explain why they're no longer secret societies.
Tell me.
I'm getting to it.
Okay, I'll be patient.
Okay, so Mobile, Alabama. It's now known as Mobile, Alabama, but at the time it was like Fort Louis de la Louisiana or something like that. Totally butchering it. I'm a historian, and I'm like, I can't say things. It's all right. However, there is this debate. Apparently, on March 3rd, which is, I think, a Tuesday of the day before Ash Wednesday, in 1699, they're saying that there's this debate that was the first day in America that Mardi Gras was held by those two same French brothers. Apparently, they landed 60 miles south of present-day New Orleans, near the mouth of the Mississippi River, on the eve of the holiday, and they apparently held a small celebration because they were like, oh, it's Fat Tuesday, you're going to celebrate it. So, I don't know, I guess maybe there's a journal about it, a journal writing, because they're trying to say, no, it was actually here that it happened in 1699, but I think they're really stating in 1703 is really the official day. But there's a debate, which I thought was kind of interesting, that there's a small debate in, like, in history. Like, that's really strange. I don't know. So let's talk about Mobile, Alabama a little bit. So in 1704, Mobile established a secret society known as the Masque de la Mobile, or Mobile. I don't know how they say it in French, because they don't say the whole word, right? Similar to those that form our current Mardi Gras, which are these crews that John mentioned. It lasted until 1709, so not very long. And in 1710, you have, this means calf in French. Boeuf?
The boof?
B-O-E-U-F.
That's what our current, the last Supreme Court justice. I heard he was really good at boofing.
Oh my god.
Is that spelled the same way?
It means calf, or cow, I think.
Okay.
And it's like, boeuf gras, so it means fat cow or fat calf, society. And when I was formed, and they did a parade. And they actually had they paraded, meaning like one or two carriages, nothing that we think of today, because parades really don't come about until the 1800s, but they would pull like a carriage, or I think they pulled a calf, or they walked with a cow down the street, or something of that nature. Do I have, here's the really fun flyer. It's for 1900, but I thought this was a cool Mobile Mardi Gras Carnival flyer. Just to talk while I'm talking about it. So, You have so they started this whole like they parade through like 1711 till about 1861, and the procession was held with a huge bull head pushed along with wheels. Okay, that's what it is, by like 16 men. So it's kind of a small parade, right? They push this bull head down the road. Later, Rex, which is going to be known as the King of Carnival, and I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later, they will parade with an actual bull, draped in white and signaling the coming of the Lenten meat fast. So meaning you won't have meat for really 47 days, right? And this, of course, occurred on Fat Tuesday. So Mobile's first masked ball, so a huge thing. So we think about parades and people crowding the streets, but masquerade balls are huge, right? They're major during this time. So you have the Masque de la Mobile was held the following year, and it had the first. It just starts to evolve, right? So they have their first ball the following year, and it evolves and expands from this like really kind of these rustic, simple beginnings into this really mysterious and intriguing celebration with these crazy societies. And so with these secret crews, right? I think it's so funny. So it's Krewes, everyone. So just to let you guys know, secret crews. The mask figures often. So people go in with big masks, but they were allowed to take them off inside because everybody inside knew who they were, but people on the outside didn't know who was part of these secret societies, these secret crews. And so that really started in Mobile, Alabama, and then New Orleans is going to start it and have it next. Which is kind of, you always think New Orleans, right? Because it's so big. But Mobile, I was like, wow, I gotta go to Mobile, Alabama. So in the decades that followed, the Masked Singer, that's funny. New Orleans and other French settlements, such as from St. Louis. St. Louis is another big one. So all these other French settlements that are going to start to populate in the Americas are going to begin to mark this holiday, and they're going to go out into the streets and they're going to party and they're going to have their own mask balls and lavish dinners and things of that nature. So it starts in Mobile. New Orleans is another big one, and then a couple of other the big French cities in Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, so on, which I thought was pretty fun. So actually though, just to let you know, the Spanish took control of New Orleans for a little bit, and they actually will abolish the rituals, and it will come back later in 1812. But let's talk about New Orleans really quickly. So New Orleans was established in 1718, so later than it's about 15 years after the first Mardi Gras celebrations, so it's kind of fun. So by the 1730s is when Mardi Gras was celebrated openly in New Orleans, but not with parades as we think of it today, which parades were kind of happening a little bit like in Europe, and people were kind of pushing things down the street, but it was really about these elegant society balls, right? And they were coming about during the mid 1700s. So 1740s is when they really formed, and they're modeled, so the balls that happen today are modeled after those, which I thought was kind of cool. So each year, each decade, each century, it's just going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. All right. And so many people are going to participate because it's a ton of fun. Why wouldn't they? I get it. So on Mardi Gras in 1827, a group of students that had just came back from Paris, where they were having parades, decided to get all dressed up in colorful costumes, and they danced down the streets of New Orleans, and they're trying to recreate what they had just experienced in Paris. And then 10 years after that is apparently when the first recorded New Orleans parade took place. So it really wasn't until the 1830s that the parades came about, which is still a long time ago. I'm not saying, but I feel like they really dominate the visuals ultimately, right? These elaborate parade floats. So by the late 1830s, New Orleans held street processions of maskers with carriages and horseback riders to celebrate Mardi Gras. One of the things I really want to focus on, though, I can go down a huge rabbit hole about how like the floats are decorated and how elaborate they get and the themes and what they mean and what each society represents. But I'm gonna focus on really one big one. Like it's actually the oldest continuous society in New Orleans. So we'll talk about them for pretty much the majority of this time because it's fascinating, so fascinating. So these elite groups were people wore, like I stated, wore masks, and they remained anonymous. And so this really began in 1856 in New Orleans, when 6 young businessmen gathered together to talk about observing Mardi Gras in a more formal and organized way. Because prior to that, it was pretty loosey-goosey, like random, small processions, people kind of celebrating over here. It was very individualistic with maybe a group of people. So you have these 6 men who are like, we are going to take this seriously, I guess. Like, we want to be more organized. We want to be more formal.
Okay.
They decide to form this secret society by inviting about 30 to 40 of their fellow businessmen, and they met at the club above this saloon, which unfortunately is no longer there, in New Orleans in January of 1857. This became a carnival society, and they called themselves, it's called the Mistick Krewe of Comus. So, just to let you guys know, the Mistick Krewe, Comus. Comus, C-O-M-U-S.
Comus, like a comb over. Got it.
Yeah, it's because, so I want to talk about the name really quickly because there's a lot of cool stuff that comes with this name. So they named themselves after John Milton, the author of Paradise Lost.
Good name.
Yeah, well, John Milton is the author of Paradise Lost. He wrote this play, it's called The Mask. It's what they used to perform in front of the kings and queens and stuff like that, called Comus. And Comus is the Greek god of festivities, of like merriment and drinking. He's the son of Dionysus, so he's a pretty rowdy god. And a crew is those that organize parades during Mardi Gras. So they're like, we're gonna create our name after the god of festivities, pretty much, and they're gonna be the Mistick Krewe of Comus. Comus, I think. Yeah. So this organization, before we get to the more scandalous nature of them, let's talk about the magic that they did bring to Mardi Gras. So they brought this new, like, this magical and mysterious nature to New Orleans with these. They eventually create really dazzling floats, and they throw on crazy masked balls. And so in 1873, I thought this was a really fun time to talk about, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of pictures here in a second. They threw on so remember, each society throws their own parade. So their parade was called the Missing Link in 1873, and this is a really important Mardi Gras parade in history because they decide to... It's really the first parade that starts to use satire and political commentary, which I thought was kind of fascinating. And so I have a couple of fun illustrations that were published because newspapers took hold of Mardi Gras and started to publicize it. So it starts to get really big, right? Because now it's in the media and people are talking about it. So these are kinds of fun drawings that I saw and I really wanted to show you guys. So these are the political satire. So it's a different people, depending on they would dress up as people from the Civil War or which had just happened, right? And so there's that one, this one. I highly recommend looking them up. Just look at 1873 Mistick Krewe of Comus, Missing Link. And there's so many, these were costume. This is what people wore or what they tried to emulate or dress up as. They really went all out. And they did this for satire and political commentary, which I thought was pretty wild. You start to see that, though, with different things. Guy Fawkes Day becomes satire and political commentary, too. Cosplayers. I mean, kind of, in some regards. I mean, they did it to make fun of, not necessarily to celebrate, necessarily. Which I thought was kind of fun. So I also wanted to show you guys a couple of their floats that found these illustrations of their floats during the time. And these float pictures come from, I think, 1886. And this is just how elaborate the floats were starting to get in the late 1800s. Because remember, doing the parades of floats comes out in the 1830s, late 1830s. So now the floats are becoming bigger and people are just getting really into it. So let me put 2 up. They don't pay to put on the parades. These societies do.
Yeah, actually, sanitation is actually the biggest cost in Mardi Gras. Yeah. It costs about $1.5 million just to clean up the city.
Holy crap!
Yeah, over 25 million beads are strewn around the entire city. So you're thinking each bead has about 30 beads to a string. So yeah, about 25 million. So over 1 million beads are thrown out around the city, and they all need to be cleaned up. And it actually stops exactly at midnight.
It does. It ends at midnight. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, because it's over.
It's over.
It's the start of Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, it's over.
You gotta wake up for church.
It's true. No, it's when you think about it always says that they celebrated. When I was reading about how they celebrated in the past, it always ended at midnight. Exactly. Everybody's we're done. It's over.
The cops will come down on horses, and the fact they still do that. On last call.
too.
Although
Me
it's
too.
at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. I forget what time.
I remember.
Not on Mardi Gras.
I remember. So, because I come from in St. Louis, they used to have the family day on Saturday. So the Saturday before Mardi Gras, that Tuesday, they would have the family day. So it was tamer, kind of, and they would have the parade during the day, and then they had back in the past. I don't know if they still do it now. They had the parade Tuesday nights for the adults. And it got really crazy. I think that eventually they stopped doing it because it got too crazy, and like cleaning it up and getting everybody to go home became such a challenge. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
So, but midnight, over, done.
Hey man, yeah. If I'm home by midnight on a party day, I have a good morning the following morning. So.
Yes. So interesting enough, like I said before, prior to the advent of Comus, I think that's how you say it. Comus? I'm so sorry. Carnival celebrations in New Orleans, like I say, were mainly confined to these like Roman Catholic Creole communities, and parades were very irregular and very often informally organized. And then all of a sudden you have this really organized society that comes along, and they're organizing it, right? And then other societies are going to start forming and following suit, and soon you'll have all these societies, like secret societies, right, at the time, who are putting on these parades, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It really has this rigid, guarded identity system, right? They do not want anyone to know who their members are. It's so secret, and they're very strict about it. And honestly, all their activities are private besides the parades. Those are out there for everyone to enjoy, but everything else is very secret. And that will create a problem, which I'll get to in just a second. So perhaps even more than other carnival organizations, this one specifically is going to stick to the traditional code of secrecy all the way up until the 20th century, until they're being told they're not allowed to, which is going to be interesting. So legend has it, though, the admittance to the Mistick Krewe's ball was highly sought after. Like, people desperately wanted to go. Like, it was the ball to go to. And if you were uninvited, apparently there are stories that people would have begged, bought, or even stolen invitations just to go to the ball.
Wow.
Like, that sounds...
It was the cool place to be.
It was like the hit place to be, right? Yeah. Within, of course, a very specific social class of society. And then even after the Mistick Krewe ball is over, the invitations are prized by collectors. And I actually have one here for you guys. I want to show it to you. So they are actually, they're both rare and beautiful. And there's so many different kinds. This one's from 1877, so it's an older invitation. But they're always really beautiful types.
That is cool.
So they're highly prized. If you ever see one, good for you. So this does all come to a very interesting head eventually. So in 1991, so I'm jumping way ahead, but I wanted to do this really quickly because I'm talking about the specific society. The New Orleans City Council passes an ordinance that required social organizations, including the Mardi Gras Cruise, so not just the Mardi Gras Cruise, there's all social organizations within New Orleans, to certify publicly that they did not discriminate on the basis of race, religion, gender, disability, or sexual orientation. In order,
damn, that's awesome.
And they did it in order for them to obtain parade permits. So it's like, if you want to be part of our celebration, you have to let us know who your members are. So they said, or any other public events, basically. So in effect, the ordinance required these private social groups to abandon their traditional code of secrecy and identify their members for the city's Human Relations Commission. Isn't that wild?
It's crazy.
So, but this specific crew that we were talking about, the Comus organization, they decided they withdrew from parading rather than to identify their members. That's how intense they were. They stuck to their traditions to a point that they eventually they stopped participating. So this is really interesting. So 2 federal courts later decided that the ordinance was unconstitutional and it was infringement on First Amendment rights of free association. Despite this, the Krewe of Comus has not returned to the streets to parade. So it was kind of overturned, but others did eventually. So a couple of the older institutions, they came back to parade. But the Mistick Krewe now only holds an annual ball every year. That's it. A Mardi Gras night. And that's all. So they're the ones that really jumpstart, right, this thing in New Orleans as you know it today. But they were so strict to their traditions that they stopped participating in the parade, which I thought was pretty wild. You're gonna guess that? Yeah, it's crazy. So I just talked a lot about, I know about the Mistick Krewe, but I thought it was really important because I thought they had a very wild story about this like the secrecy and how they really promoted the parades and the dazzling floats and like the political satire and the commentary and it. But then eventually, like, because of like how maybe controversial, right, in many ways, like the dark history, the past, like who are their members, who is part of this, and when they were being forced to reveal their members, they were like, nah, we pull out. So
well, I could say there's not a lot of pulling out going on in Mardi Gras times.
You hope there is. Oh my gosh. Cheers to that, my friend.
Cheers
to that. I am coming. I'm sorry, guys. I am coming to a close. I promise you. I know there's a lot. There's a lot of, and I didn't even go into everything. I should have focused on Carnival one day, Mardi Gras in New Orleans another. But you know how I roll. So there is another one, by the way, that the Mistick Krewe of Comus actually came before. I know, paraphrasing. Actually was inspired by a society that was in Mobile, Alabama first, which is called the Cabellian de Racan Society, which started in 1830. And they're the ones that they do annual parades and things like that. So they actually are, I think, were the oldest, but I don't think they're continuing today. I know that the Mistick Krewe is the oldest and continuous. So, but I do want to give a shout out to Mobile, Alabama, because they do have a big thing that I just learned about. How did I not know about this? How do none of us really know about this? If you did, let me know. I think now the city's most celebrated parade is the Rex Krewe, and it's called the Rex is the king of Carnival. I'm gonna show you guys a great picture here. Oh, this one. Which began in 1872 and still goes on today. And which now makes it the oldest Mardi Gras crew because it's still participating since 1870. So if you guys see the big king, it's Rex, and he is like a big symbol when it comes to the parades. I wanted to give at least a shout out to one of the parade iconic characters. And also what's cool about the Rex Krewe is they established purple, gold, and green as the iconic Mardi Gras colors.
Ah,
so the ones
cool.
I have in my picture. So, which is a good old time, I have to say. Another fun, I have a couple of really fun facts to kind of wrap myself up with here. Louisiana is the only state in which Mardi Gras is a legal holiday. I think that's cool, but honestly,
cool.
It should be a legal holiday everywhere. But not everywhere celebrates it, unfortunately. However, elaborate carnival festivals draw crowds in other parts of the United States during Mardi Gras. Like I said, Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri do have their own festivities as well. And each region has kind of its own events and its own traditions because it just kind of rose in its own way.
The last fact I'll give you about Mardi Gras.
Oh yeah, you have a really good one.
Well, it's because everyone wants to know like how the beads start.
Yeah.
So the beads, back with the secret society days, right? So the highfalutin society would hand out beads both on floats and when you went to masquerades, but the beads would be made of glass. So as this started becoming commercialized in the 1970s, they decided, giving beads for the poor people, let's give them plastic beads. So this is when plastic beads started coming into fashion. And that's not only the thing that started getting into fashion around that time. So there was a specific crew named the Zulu Krewe. And yeah, they couldn't afford glass beads to give out. So instead, they started handing out coconuts. So now, something you'll also find, which started around 1987, was when the first coconut was given out. You'll find these ornate decorated coconuts in place of beads as well. So those are the last kind of two interesting facts about Mardi Gras.
I think that's such a fascinating thing. Like, I know beads are a big one. I've never seen the coconuts, which is kind of wild, but I've seen all different types of things thrown. I've also seen like bouncy balls tossed off of floats. I've seen like the little spinners Like different types of trinkets, I guess you could think of as toys for kids, because kids very much participated in the festivities as well.
Oh yeah, you've seen the colored ladders there, right? During like around the parade float. Have you seen those ladders? No.
I mean, to get up and down off the floats.
No, there's like ladders on the sides, like these little ladders. If you see Mardi Gras parade, they always have little ladders on the side, and literally they're like painted in wild Mardi Gras colors, and it's so the kids can get up and be tall enough to see the floats.
Oh, I've never seen that. I used to always just be like, I need to get into the road. I'm getting into the street and be like, beads! Or get on my dad's shoulders when I was younger.
Maybe this is specific. So all those things were very specific to New Orleans, and
yeah, they're gonna have their own traditions.
Like Missouri. Yeah.
Like I said before, I've been to New Orleans, and I went during Easter weekend, and they had a nice handful of parades during that time, and it was really fun. Like they had the Pride Parade, they had all these different parades that were going on, and they weren't very long. They were short, but it was really fun to see kind of some form of like festivities and how the streets kind of came alive while drinking my hurricane, right? So like,
exactly.
I do recommend it. I don't know. Like I said before, my friend Joanna and I had talked about going because it was her birthday. And it's not on the top of my list to do New Orleans Mardi Gras because it seems like such a... It just seems like a lot. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that make... Do you mean like it's like it gets so crowded? Like
it's a festival.
I guess maybe I'm getting old. I'd be like, where do I go to the bathroom? Can I get water?
Yeah.
Where do I...
it's a crazy thing. That's why you don't go to like Halloween in Vegas. It's too crazy. It's like too crazy.
It's true, because I did Oktoberfest in Munich a few years ago, and I have to say that was a challenge. As fun as it was and as cool as it was to be there, like there was like nowhere to really sit, and there was like nowhere to relax, and there was nowhere like you had to pay to go use the restroom, and like it just became like you had to wait to get into a tent unless you have the money to reserve. It's just like you don't realize, but you know. It's the environment, right? It's really fun, but then there's also the challenges of it all, and it depends on how you party. I guess.
Well, I'm taking this off topic. Wrap up Mardi Gras. Take us home.
Quickly, I do want to talk about really quickly because I think it's a really interesting thing, and so Mardi Gras around the world. Just really fast. So you have these festivals everywhere that are happening in these really Roman Catholic populations. Brazil does a week-long carnival festival with vibrant amalgams of European, African, and Native traditions, which I thought was really cool that they blended all different types of traditions in the Brazil one. In Canada, Quebec hosts a really big, gigantic carnival as well. In Italy, of course, in Florence, like I've mentioned. And then even in Germany, they have one. And it starts with a K. It's like Carnival, but Karneval, which I thought was kind of fun. Or it's called Fastnacht. Oh, I can't. I'm trying to do German. If I just do it in an accent, right? It's how it sounds German. And they do big masquerade balls. And then also in Denmark, they celebrate it where children dress up and get candy. It's kind of like our Halloween tradition. But they do a big thing. And it ends. They do a whole ritual that goes with Easter and stuff. So you have all these different other places. Oh, look at you. You know it. Yes, that's it. I can't say that. Fastnacht.
Fastnacht. Fastnacht is fun.
It's F-A-S-T.
Fastnacht.
Yeah, F-A-S-T-N-U-S-N-U-H.
All I know is
I think something like that. No.
Yeah.
So that's my history on Mardi Gras. There's so much to talk about. I'm sorry. You play. Oh my gosh! Really, in Fallout 76? That's so cool. I love when video games teach you things like about history and tradition.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you for teaching me about Mardi Gras.
Look at you doing
Please
the chug.
chug and finish your drink.
So I hope
and
you guys
cheers
learned
to everyone
something
who
new.
came and joined us.
Yes, thank you for joining. I know I rambled. I could have went on so much longer. I hope it was interesting enough.
I loved it.
Thank you guys. I hope you have a beautiful weekend.
Cheers.
Thank you for being here. Cheers. Yes, I gotta chug the rest of my not much drink. I did drink less this time. Posted a bunch of Mardi Gras pics. Yes, please, if you guys are part of my Discord, I'd love to see photos. Share your photos, especially if you decide to dress up and anything like that. I love it. your lovely Liz. Thank you for making an account and joining us here. Let me get this chug in before John reprimands me.
I mean, someone paid for it in the chat. I don't know who it was, but they wanted you to finish that drink.
Angelus 00000 redeemed.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
20,000 points there.
That guy did.
That guy there. I miss Mardi Gras. I'm not gonna lie. I came to when I moved to LA, I was 18 when I moved to LA, so I didn't really ever get to do Mardi Gras as an adult, which I definitely plan to when I can. I have to go back at some point.
When the COVID times are over?
When it's safe to do so and festivities can resume, I will try. I don't like the idea of being in Missouri in winter, but I will deal with it in order to have some fun. So I hope Andrew joins me when I do that, and I'm so excited. One day, because again, I only experienced it. I remember the last time I went to Mardi Gras proper, you'll so be there. We'll be there. This would be so much fun. I remember with my friends, we did the whole, we were down in Soulard Market, which is really, it's where the cobblestone streets are. It's a very French community within St. Louis. Please just go, because it's a really, really beautiful place to visit. And they went all out. We were down there, we're partying, we're having fun, as in we're just buying beads and, looking at everybody. And then we go to Applebee's, and I remember getting a virgin mudslide at Applebee's at 17. Good times. I disappeared. Soulard is French for drunkard. I learned that. No way! Is it really? Soulard is French for drunkard? I'm gonna believe that forever. I don't even know if it's right, but I love it, and I'm gonna go with it. Soulard Market. So it's a drunken market? That makes sense to me, because that's where Soulard is that's where things go down. I think Dogtown does the St. Patrick's Day parade though. But
wait, so where are you going to be next Tuesday for Mardi Gras?
I'm gonna be here.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna be on my Animal Crossing celebrating, because Animal Crossing's gonna have a huge. So by the way, Animal Crossing's doing a Mardi Gras celebration, and I'm so gonna be on my Switch playing that. I might stream it just because it's a way to celebrate. Let's do a game night. I know, we could do a game night, a virtual game night, whatever you guys want to do. I'm down. I love Mardi Gras. When I first moved out to LA, I threw Mardi Gras parties. Back in the day, I don't know if my friend Summer is here. I used to try, right, to bring that culture and festivity that I grew up with when I moved out here. Sassafras down in LA. I don't know if it's still around. They used to do a big Mardi Gras celebration, and I went one year, and it was absolutely fun. It's a New Orleans style restaurant. Again, I don't know if it's still around, but and in the back they were boiling crawfish and shrimp, and it was so good. I miss it. I love it. I love all of it. I'm so happy right now. Can't you tell my cheeks hurt? They're all puffy. So again, I hope you guys learned something new. Take it to trivia night. Put it in your bag. Smoke it. I don't know. I hope you had fun. Have a beautiful weekend. I know it's Valentine's Day this weekend. If that's your jam, have a great time doing whatever you do. And now you know. You know what it's all about. So thank you for tuning in. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I don't know what we're talking about on February. What is that? 26?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Something
February
interesting.
26th, we'll be back. I picked a topic, and I don't remember it off the top of my head. We'll be drinking, that's for sure. And there'll be history. Drinking, history, repeat. It's our thing. It's our jam. And want to celebrate sad with me? Oh, no! Single Awareness Day.
Oh, yeah. It's the best day of the year.
Love yourself, y'all. Just love yourself.
I hope I brought enough lotion.
Oh, God. All right, you guys. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.